Hello, and welcome to the Build Your Own Violin instructional video. This video is meant to be paired with the Build Your Own Violin instruction set, which is a revised version of the Stu Mac Fiddle Kit Assembly Instructions, revised by Mark Bowen and Naren Wheeler. Remember to always wear your safety equipment and have fun. First up here is going to be installing the purflings. The purflings are a thin wooden piece that follows the outline around the entire outside of the front and the back of the body. To remove this, you'll use a chisel, and you'll just go around and chisel out the outline, creating a little channel for your purfling to lay into. For finer details, you can use an X-Acto knife and just cut out. Once you have that channel, you'll take your purfling and you will lay it in and just follow that entire channel that you have outlined around the outside for the front and the back. You'll have your neck piece and your fingerboard and your nut. You want to put the nut right at the top of the neck piece, and then put your fingerboard butted up right against that. You want to spot glue all these together just to check the measurements for your neck fitting. Once you get that all spot glued together, you'll just want to take some sandpaper and flush it down the sides so that everything is nice and smooth and even all the way down both sides. Take your violin body and line your neck up perfectly centered at the top. And remove material on the heel from the inside and the bottom until all of your measurements meet the measurements that can be found on the diagram in the instruction set. Once you have the proper amount of material removed, then you will want to take off the fingerboard and the nut. Once you have that spot traced on the violin body, you'll take your chisel and you will start to cut out material from that spot. Once you have your mortise cut into the top of the body, you'll take your heel and you'll glue it into place. Once your glue dries on your neck, then we're going to want to install the tailgut saddle. So we will be cutting another mortise in the bottom. You'll want to find your end pin hole right at the bottom there. You'll want to go directly up from that and cut a notch about 5 millimeters deep right in the top. From there, you're going to want to cut out a mortise 5 millimeters deep and 35 millimeters wide to fit your tailgut saddle. Once you have this mortise cut out for your tailgut saddle, it's time to shape the tailgut saddle. Once you have the mortise cut into the body for the tailgut saddle and your tailgut saddle shaped, you want to double check that the fit is right and that it fits nice and snug in there. But don't glue it yet. Just put some masking tape over your little mortise and move on to the next step. To install the end pin, we're going to need to ream the end pin hole at the bottom of the violin with a reamer or a pencil with some sandpaper around it. Once that is the proper fit, you'll want to press the end pin gently in at first. Once it feels nice and snug, give it a firm press to keep it in place. No glue needed. From here, we're going to want to attach the fingerboard. I recommend spot gluing the nut back on. Then take your fingerboard and attach that using some sort of clamping method. Practice the clamping method. Make sure you have everything dialed into the same measurements as before, and then glue it, clamp it, let it dry overnight. The next day, it's time to sand and varnish. When you do that, you'll want to apply thin coats at a time. Just one thin coat, sand it, another thin coat, sand it, and repeat this process until everything is smooth, level, and glossy. This is also the time you would like to stain. Once you've done this, you can install the tailgut saddle into its place. So just remove the masking tape and install that tailgut saddle right into its mortise that you made in the previous steps. Next, we're going to want to fit our tuning pegs. Those are going to slide right into the holes on the side of the neck. These holes might need a little bit of reaming. You can use a pencil with some sandpaper on the side and just get it to be a nice snug fit. You want the knob of the end pin to be roughly 14 millimeters off of the neck, and trim off the excess on the other side. Once you have all your tuning pegs installed, you're going to want to mark a spot just barely off center on each one of them for a spot to drill your holes for your strings. Next, we're going to need to install the sound post. The sound post is going to be a small dowel piece of wood. You're going to want to trim the tips to fit the curvature of the inside of the violin. This is going to go right behind the treble foot, as you can see in the diagram, and you're going to want to use the treble hole to insert this into the violin. So grab a pair of needle nose pliers, and you're going to use those to reach back through the treble hole and wedge your sound post right back in there behind the foot. Next, you're going to want to shape and fit the bridge. It's going to come cut out slightly, but you want to cut off some weight, so you're going to just take a file, some sandpaper, and sand off all around the edges. You're also going to want to sand the feet to match the curvature of the violin on the bottom, and then you're going to want to sand out all these little holes. However, the spots where the strings rest, you're going to want to avoid sanding the bottom of those because those are very specifically placed to get the right sound out of the strings. So pretty much sand the edges, file the edges everywhere else besides where the strings sit. Next step is to install the tail gut, which is this string type material that feeds into the tail piece. You're going to have two ends secured by thumb screws which I don't have on here, but you're going to want to loosen up one thumb screw so that you can pull the tail gut through. Then you're going to want to loop that around the end pin of the violin, just like so, and pull that loose end until your tailpiece is about 1 to 3 millimeters from the edge of the tailgut saddle. Then you're going to want to tighten up that thumb screw and trim off the excess on the back. Before installing the chin rest, you're going to want to make sure that you secure the tailpiece with rubber bands so it's centered perfectly down the middle of your violin. Once you have your chin rest installed, it's time to string your violin. You're going to want to start by feeding your string through the tailpiece and attaching it there first, and running that all the way up to your pins. Feed it through the hole that you drilled. Give that pin a couple turns till the string is nice and taut. And repeat that for all 4 strings. And then grab your bow and start playing. Thank you for watching this instructional video. I hope it helped you along your way with building your own violin.